I wrote the majority of this script a few days after watching Wonder Woman for the first time, but for various reasons I never ended up recording it. Yet I couldn't stop thinking about it, so that's why you now get my long overdue thoughts on Wonder Woman way after anyone has stopped caring about it, so really I'm great at this. There are several problems that I see with the new Wonder Woman film, from the overly comic-y, tonally out of place villains to the stereotypical portrayal of the minorities and the illogical warrior armor. But my biggest problem was with the dynamic between Diana and Steve. When we're first introduced to Steve, it's quite clear to us that Diana is very intrigued by him. She keeps asking questions about him, most of them about him being a man, and most of them, again, are being turned into innuendos, because it's very important that we as the audience knows that Diana is very attracted to this weird specimen alien thing that she's never seen before. A perfect example of this is when Diana asks him if he is an average example of his specimen, and he coyly looks down at his crotch area and goes, above average. This continues on as Steve and Diana leave Themyscira, but it's only from Diana's perspective. We never see Steve being intrigued or taken aback or fascinated by this island full of extremely capable warrior women wearing practically nothing, looking godlike and beautiful, and just being so far from the typical women that he knows from back in London. Never once does he express this feeling. It's all about Diana being fascinated by Steve and making sure that we know that there's romantic chemistry between them because of innuendos. Through the entire first part, and actually throughout most of the movie, it seems like Steve just wants to get rid of Diana because he feels like he hinders her plan, even though she really is a great asset to what he's trying to achieve. So when they arrive in London and Steve realizes that he can't get rid of her, we get the obligatory makeover and wonderment of this new world thing that comes with these type of an alien being put in our society. But the way they do this, they make Diana look so naive and almost childlike, with Steve being the patronizing father. He keeps shushing her and he talks over her. He doesn't listen to her at any point or what she has to say. There's this weird scene where she gets given ice cream for the first time, almost like she's a little child, and there's of course, her being dressed up to fit his society. And all this happens without Steve questioning anything about her or where she comes from. Again, there's no sense of wonderment from him, but there's a shit ton from her, making her look like the naive child and him like the passive-aggressive father who's just really ticked off he had to bring his daughter to work today. During the makeover scene, we also get the great Hollywood trope of women in glasses being ugly. The fantastic character, that is the secretary, asks Steve if he really thinks that slapping a pair of glasses on Diana will make her indisguisable to the public and they won't realize that she's the most beautiful woman they've ever seen. And Steve goes, yes, that's what I think. And as they walk through London, sure enough, no one realizes that she's the most beautiful woman they've ever seen. This whole patronizing, shushing, and talking over thing continues to happen even after Diana saves his life in the alley and shows her brilliant language skills and basically moves his entire mission forward. Now at this point, I am halfway through the movie, and I'm thinking, oh, I get it, we're poking fun at misogynism and how things used to be by making Steve a dick, and then he's gonna realize his ways, and they're gonna fall in love, and it's gonna be fine. But no. That's not what this movie does. Instead, Diana falls in love with the shushing, patronizing Steve that doesn't value her as an intellectual or as a warrior. Even after they sleep together, he still doesn't change his view of her. And he never questions anything about her. It's always her having to learn about him. There's a scene with dancing where she goes, that's not dancing, that's not how he does it in Themyscira. And instead of showing him how she thinks dancing is, he goes up and teaches her to dance in his way. And I know it's just a small thing, but it just so perfectly shows his mindset and how the movie's mindset to Diana versus Steve. A few scenes after they sleep together, the sleazy, womanizing sidekick goes, oh, it's not Diana I'm worried about, Steve. It's you. We all know she can hold her own. And right after he does that, Steve completely dismisses Diana, tells her to stay outside in the woods while the men go in and infiltrate the enemy because he doesn't think that she can handle it. I'm like, dude, She just saved everyone's lives at No Man's Land. Your friend here just told you that she can definitely hold her own and you should probably listen to her, and you do the exact opposite. This is the Steve that Diana falls in love with. This is the Steve that our supposed feminist icon thinks is worthy of her. Basically, she fell in love with the first man she saw, regardless of his character traits. And yeah, sure, at the end of the movie, Steve does say that I can save the day, but you can save the world, or something like that to Diana, finally giving her the credit that she deserves for the first time. But at this point, it's right before he blows himself up and redeems his character, in my point of view, and also way after she fell in love with him. This is not the character traits, this is not the personality that she fell for. And that just really diminishes her as a character, in my opinion. We see the movie through the eyes of Steve, since he's the human and we can therefore relate to him. And this is very common in superhero movies, or just movies in general, dealing with non-human beings. For example, in Thor, we see him through the eyes of Jane. But Jane's view of Thor is one of wonderment. She looks up to him, she goes, "Oh, who is this strange man that is so strong, yet so foreign?" And she is inquisitive about him, and therefore we see him in a better light. We see him as a god or a hero. That's not how Wonder Woman or Diana is shown in this movie. She is shown as this naive child who doesn't know anything, who keeps being dismissed despite constantly showing how awesome she is, falling for the guy who keeps dismissing her, and in the end giving some huge spiel about choosing love. Yeah. And I would have been fine with that if it wasn't the love for, the misogynistic main love interest who just blew himself up. Because really, she gets his power from Steve in the end. That's how she ends up beating Ares. Not because she finds power within herself, not from seeing the goodness in the minorities, the sidekicks, who's over here and trying to hold together and help people out even though their world is about to end. No, from the douchebag boyfriend. And because she gets the final push, her final powers, whatever, the final kick to beat Ares from Steve, it again sends the message that Steve is more important and he was the stronger character, while it undermines her personal strength. She needs him to function in this world. So do I think Wonder Woman is an awful movie? No, I don't. I thought it was a fine superhero movie. It had a lot of pretty shots and badass fighting scenes. And it was entertaining if I could look past the misogyny, which was hard. Because she had been sold to me through all the hype and the reviews as this great feministic character showing strong female traits, and I just don't see it. I think that the movie showed me that she was a very physically strong female warrior, but a very weak character. So to answer the question in the title, is Wonder Woman the feministic hero we need? No, I don't think she is. I think it's another average, entertaining movie. But I do think that she's a step in the right direction. And I thoroughly hope that the next step in that direction is a well thought out, well written Black Widow movie. Because oh my, do I want that story. At the end here, I just like to mention two characters I really did like in the movie. The first one was Etta, the secretary, who was, from my point of view, the most feministic character we had in this movie. She was great in all of her scenes. She was comedic and funny, and she had little poking at Steve and his misogynism, and I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I really hope that they make her Wonder Woman's sidekick in the sequel. The second character I really liked was Sir Patrick, or Ares. I thought David Thewlis did an amazing job at playing the two roles and not giving too much away, so it was a really great plot twist that he was the villain all along. And I thought the end sequence, the final battle, was great. And honestly, I would not have been mad if Wonder Woman had ended up siding with Ares at the end of this movie after all she'd been through. But that is a completely different discussion for another time. So, have any of you seen Wonder Woman? What do you think? Do you disagree with me? If you have any thoughts at all, please leave them in the comments below or make a video response or something, and we can have a little conversation about it, because I do like talking about these kind of stuff, so that's why I'm making videos about it. And until next time, I hope you find something that makes you feel empowered and badass.